Hey everyone, and welcome back to the virtual Eclipse Community Meetup. I'm your host, Stephanie Swart, and today is the third webinar in our Eclipse Photon series. Today, I'm joined by Lakshmi Shanmugam from IBM, who's presenting what's new in Eclipse platform. So without further ado, Lakshmi, the floor is all yours.
Thanks, Stephanie. So let me share my screen. Hello, everyone. I'm Lakshmi Shanmugam. I am an SWT, actually an Eclipse platform committer and co-lead, and I work for IBM. So today I'm going to present what's new in the Eclipse platform in the Photon release. So I'm going to start the screen share. So in today's session, I'm going to talk about what's new in the different components which we have, that's platform, JDT, debug, PDE, and also talk about the GTK-3 improvements, dark theme improvements, and general updates. So let's first move on to what's new in platform. The code mining is a new feature which is being added in a platform. A code mining is a content that is shown along with the source text. It can be a label or an icon. For example, the number of references, implementations of a class or method, parameter value during debug. The main advantage of having code mining support is to enable the developers to have a better understanding of the code and also to help them write better code. The JFees inline annotation support class actually draws the annotations in the style text without modifying the line numbers, and it draws the annotations either vertically or horizontally as required without modifying the line number in the style text. And you can also, it also helps define an action to run when an annotation is clicked. So I'll quickly show you a demo of code mining support available in Eclipse. So the code mining support is available in Eclipse Photon, but the JDT code mining is not part of the SDK. It has to be installed from a separate update site. So I have already installed it here. You can see the JDT code mining feature has been installed. And once it has been installed, you can go to the preferences and enable the options which you would like to see. So I am going to enable all these, apply and close. So you can see in this particular class, the annotations are available for the base class. It says there are 4 references. And when I click on this, it opens all the references in the search view. Similarly, it says there are 3 references for the print class name method. And when I click on this, it opens the references in the search view again. Let's go to the println method. And when I hover over this, you can see that the println has a parameter, takes a parameter string, and the parameter name is X. So the parameter type and parameter name is shown here. Okay, let's go to the main class. So in the main method, you can see that we have the run and debug annotations. So there is an action associated with the run methods. When you click on run, it will run the main class. And when you click on debug, it will debug this particular class. So, and during debug, you can see that there are a few more annotations which become visible. For example, you have the values for each of these variables which are printed, and when I step to the next line, you can see the value of sum is also printed here. Okay, in addition to code minings, I also would like to show you the demo for inline annotation. So let me run the inline annotation demo. So here you can see that there is a colored box, and when I click on this, there is an action associated with it, which opens the color dialog. So Eclipse platform provides support to have your own or write your own code mining providers. For more information, please read the NNN document, which has all the details of the extension points. Okay, let's move on to other features in the platform. So the Mac users would have already noticed that the font in the editor is different. So in Eclipse Photon, the default font in the text editor has been changed to Menlo. Earlier it was using Monaco, but Monaco was not supporting the bold font face. So with Menlo, we have the bold font face support, and you can see that the readability of the code has been improved. Another feature, one of my favorite features in Photon is the improvement in the quick access search. So the quick access search now supports opening a preference page using keywords. So you can see that I can directly open a preference page using the quick access view. So let me disable this. From here, you can also open any other preference page. For example, I can open the install JRE preference page from here. Another feature which we have is in the browser view supports auto refresh, and this can be toggled. So let me show you a demo of this. This is a local HTML file, and this is the browser view. Here we have an option to select auto refresh local changes. So let me check this. So you can see that it is checked. So the changes will be auto refreshed in the browser view. So let me go to the editor and I can save the file here. And in the browser view, you can see that it is automatically updated. There are several improvements in the open resource dialog. So in the open resource dialog, can be used to search for a resource. So if I want to look for a resource named child class, I can use the camel case, but the open resource dialog will show the perfect match as the first entry, and it also shows the characters which have been matched in bold. So it highlights the matching characters in bold, and this also works when you use the wildcard characters. Matching characters are highlighted. Another thing you can notice in the open resource dialog is that the path is now shown for all the matches. This was earlier shown only for matches which were duplicate, but now all the files have the path shown. Okay, the next feature which I want to show you is that in the edit menu, we already have the undo and redo menu items. But now if you want to have them in the toolbar as well, you can customize the perspective and add in the toolbar visibility tab. You can choose the undo and redo buttons, and these buttons are now available in the toolbar as well. Okay, there are a few other features which I would like to talk about. So we have the import wizard to import existing projects into workspace, or to import projects from folder or archive. And there is an new option which has been added to close the newly imported projects upon completion. The main advantage of this particular option is if you are importing many projects, or if you're importing a project which has a time-consuming builder, then you would like to close the project upon when the import is complete. And the next feature is in the Project Explorer. When you have the working sets view enabled, on the working set, you have several options available, like close projects, which will close all the projects in the working set, close unrelated projects. And if there are closed projects, then it gives you the option to open the projects. And if build automatically is not enabled, you also have the option to build the projects. There are several preferences which have been added as well. So one of the preferences is in the content types preference page. The content types preference page, there is an option to add to associate an editor with a content type. So earlier we had only the content types and file associations. Now we also have the associated editor. So you can see that when you click on image, it shows you the file associations and also the associated editors. And using this dialog, you can also add a new content type and you can associate an editor with it. And let me go back to the preferences. So here you can see that there are new accessible buttons added for import and export. So this will open the import and the export wizard directly to import and export the preferences. Okay, another change which I would like to talk about is the modern directory dialog on Windows. So on Windows, the directory dialog which is used in Photon is the new directory dialog which was introduced in Windows Vista. So on the left hand side, you can see the old directory dialog, and on the right hand side, you can see the new directory dialog which is available now. So one point to be noted when you're using the new directory dialog is that the new directory dialog doesn't have an option to set a message in the directory dialog. So the directory dialog.set message API no longer works on Windows. So clients need to revisit the code, and any usages of directory dialog.set message has to be looked upon and see if the message can be set in the title itself. Now let's move on to JDT. So JDT, one of the important things which comes with Photon is support for newer Java versions, that is Java 9, support for Java 10, and also support for the latest version of JUnit, which is JUnit 5.1. So Java 9 support, the ECG or Eclipse compiler for Java implements all the new Java line language enhancements. The JDT compiler on other JDT features such as search, editor, they've all been updated to support the Java modules. And Java 10 support, the Java 10 JRE is recognized by Eclipse for launching, and ECJ implements the new Java 10 language enhancement, which is the support for local variable type inference, which is nothing but the type var. So let me show you the Java 9 and Java 10 project in Eclipse. So you can easily create a Java 9 project. Let me change the working set. Okay, you can create a new Java 9 project. And you can set the execution environment as Java 9, Java SE9. And this, I have already bound this to a JDK 9. And go to the next. When you go next, you can actually see there is a checkbox to create module info.java file, which is checked by default. Now hit finish, you can dialog to open. A dialog is open to create module info.java, and you can set the name of the module. And this creates a new Java 9 project, and you can see the module info.java file is created as well. And when you expand the JRE tab, you can see all the Java 9 modules are available here. And another important thing to be noted about a Java 9 project is when you open the properties of the project and go to build path, you can now see the module path and class path, and expand the module path shows you can see the modules, and If you want to edit the properties of a module, you can find the module properties page here. And also in the Java search, you can see that the scope for module has been included. Now let's move on to a Java 10 project. So here I've already created a Java 10 project, and it is using a Java 10 JRE. And let's type something here using. Okay, so the Java 10 support includes the support for type var. So this includes content assist support, where you can use the type var. So here you can see the content assist support is available. And you have quick fixes to change the type of the var to a string. And you also have quick fix here to change the type of the string to var. And when you hover over the var type, you can see it says it is of type Java lang string. Similarly, when you hover over S here, also it tells you that it is of type string. Okay, and now if I want to convert a Java 9 project or any other project to a Java 10 project, for example, I want to use var here. This is a Java 9 project, so I get an error here which says var cannot be resolved to a type, but I have a quick fix which says change the project compliance and JRE to 10. And when I select this, you can see that the error is gone, and here the JRE is Java 10, and the project compliance has also been modified. Okay, so another important feature in JDT is the support for test sources. So what is a test source? So in a Java project, if there is a source folder which contains tests, it can now be explicitly marked as a test folder. For example, here I have a project which has a source folder which contains the source, and I have the test folder which contains the test sources. So I can mark this explicitly as a test folder. So I need to go to properties. In the Java build path, in the source tab, I need to enable contain test sources as yes. I need to, and the error it gives me here is a test source folder test in project must have a separate output folder. So I'm going to create a separate, okay, allow output folders, and then change the output folder here. You can see that the icon has changed to a darker shade and has a slight green in the image. And the same change happens in the package explorer as well. This shows that it is now being treated as a test source folder. Another property which can be set for the test source folder is that in the projects tab, you can see that if project with test is now requires project with test 2, but I do not want to be able to see the test code in the project 2, then I can say without test code to be set as yes. This makes, with this option, project with test can see only the code which is there in source code which is there in project with test 2 and not the test code. And yeah, so another thing which is which comes with the test source folder is there are two separate working sets which have been created. For example, I can show it in the problems view, how the use case in the problems view. So here there are warnings which are there in this particular project, and it is there in the source folder and in the test folder. But if you would like to see the warnings only in the source folder and filter out the warnings in the test folder, then I can go to the filter and then create a new filter and enable this on the working set Java main sources. So Java test sources is for the test source folder. So you can see that, okay, I need to also remove this. So you can see that all the warnings in the test folder are gone now. Okay, let's move on to the other features in JDT. So you can navigate to the beginning of a switch statement from either the default keyword or case by command click on Mac or control click on Windows and Linux, or by pressing F3. By default, the library entries in the package explorer, here we have the library entries in the package explorer. They are shown in the order in which they are available in the class path. They are available in the class path, but if you want to sort them in alphabetical order so that it's easy to find the libraries by name, there is a preference available for that. So there is a preference here, sort library entries alphabetically in the package explorer. Now you can see that the library entries have been sorted alphabetically. Similarly, the jars in the GRE have also been sorted alphabetically. Okay, there is a new preference which is added when the compiler compliance does not match the used GRE. Let's see how that works. So this particular project is using GRE 8. And the compiler compliance is also 8. So if I change it to 10, now you can see that okay, let me change this. So there should be a warning which says, okay, I have to disable this filter so that I can see all the warnings. So it says the compiler compliance specified is 10, but a GRE 1.8 is used. The formatter profile page now has a new look. Let's open the formatter profile page and see that it now you, instead of the tabbed structure before, now we have a tree structure where all the sections are in the tree format, and there is a filter available to quickly find anything. For example, I'm looking for lambda. I just type lambda in the filter and you can quickly find it here. All the options which are related to lambda. And also there is a checkbox available next to the sections to modify all the entries in the section. There is a new cleanup action available to clean up redundant modifiers for types. For example, in an interface, the public modifier on a method is redundant, and public static final on the a field is redundant. So these things can be cleaned up by running the cleanup action. So cleanup, and you need to enable the remove redundant modifiers option. And when you click on finish, you can see that the code has been cleaned up. And this can also be associated with the save action so that it happens automatically with every save. Let's move on to the new features in debug. So one of the important features in debug is the launch configuration prototype. A launch configuration can be based on a prototype, and the prototype seeds the values into the launch configuration. So let's look at a demo of this. So this launch configuration prototype has been implemented for JDT and PDE. So you have it for Java application and Eclipse application. So right click on the Java application. There is an option to create a new prototype. And the new prototype, you can specify the project and the class. And the prototype tab has all the attributes which will be provided to the launch configuration which is associated with this prototype. So let us save this prototype and then open a new configuration. And this new configuration, I'm not going to configure this, but I'm going to link this with the prototype which we just created. So going to link it with prototype 1. Okay. You can see that all the attributes from the prototype have been filled into this particular launch configuration, and the connection between the prototype and the launch configuration has been made, and you can see that here. So I have 2 examples here. Similarly, a prototype can also be created for an Eclipse application, and a launch configuration can be created and linked with the prototype. And in the launch configuration view, we have a new option, an option to export the launch configuration, and there is also a button to export. Earlier, this was possible only via the export wizard. Okay. The debug perspective now has a new layout. So let us take a look at it by debugging a sample application. So let's debug this application and switch to the debug perspective. You can see that there is a new layout here. The new layout basically provides more space for the editor area, and also some of the views which make sense, like the expressions view, the debug shell. I will talk more about the debug shell, and the problems view in place of the task view. They are available, and also the project explorer is also available now. The display view, which was available in the previous versions of Eclipse, has now been renamed to debug shell in Photon, and also it provides description on how this debug shell can be used. So let's debug this particular application, and so I have hit a breakpoint. So the breakpoint properties shows that this is a method exit breakpoint. So the new feature here is that when there is when a method exit breakpoint is hit, the variables view now shows the return value. It says this function area is returning the value 200. And at the same time, let's go further, and we see that there is an exception breakpoint here, and that is why the execution has been suspended here. So let's look at the variables view. So when the exception breakpoint is hit, the variables view shows the exception which has been thrown by this particular method. And when you continue the debug session, hit another breakpoint, and let me show you the debug shell. This area can be used to write, run, and inspect Java expressions in the context of the debug session. So I can execute this statement here, and you can see that it is executed in the context of this Java program. There also, when you debug an Eclipse application, Now, the wherever possible, the thread names that are replaced with the job names. If a thread has a job name associated with it, it will use the job name in the debug view. And whenever there are any changes in the job name or the thread name, it will be reflected in the debug view. Okay, moving on to plugin development environment. There are several new features which have been added in PDE. So let me go back to the Java perspective. So the plugin project also has support for the test sources. So when you create a plugin project whose name ends with .test or .test or .test something, then the PDE automatically treats this as a plugin test project and treats the source folder as a test source folder. So you can see that it has been automatically marked as a test source folder. And this file name matching for the project name, the regular expression match, can actually be configured in using the preference. In the plugin development preference page, there is the preference for regular expression to detect the test plugin. So if this can be modified if you want to have a different regular expression to detect a test plugin. The target definition editor now has a source tab, and this source tab is concurrent with all the remaining tabs in the target definition editor. Any changes here or any changes in the tab will sync up with each other. The content assist support and highlighting support is available in this source editor. So content assist support is available in the environment section. So for example, content assist within the OS tags, I can choose the OS, I can choose the windowing system, I can choose the architecture. So let me choose, and I can also choose the language. The PDE compiler now reports absence of automatic module name. So a plugin project which was created before Photon doesn't have this automatic module name. So let us look at a plugin project which was created in Photon. Looking at the manifest file, you can see that it has a header called automatic module name and it has a name associated with it. This is required for the project to be compatible with modular projects, that is projects Java 9 and above. And this is a project which does not have the automatic module name. So I get a warning which says, let me look into the problems view. And let's just look at okay. So let's look. So the warning is the automatic module name header is required to be discoverable as Java module in Java modular setup, and PDE compiler reports this absence of automatic module names. And there is a quick fix which is available to add this automatic module name, and it is added here automatically. So for any of the old projects, plugin projects, this warning will appear and you need to apply the quick fix so that it can be used in a modular setup. Okay, now let's look at some improvements in GTK-3. So the accessibility support on GTK-3, there's significant improvements have been made. The prior to Photon, the accessibility support was very limited and was not working in most of the cases. This has been fixed now, and Linux Eclipse on GTK-3 is accessible again. WebKit 1 was the default browser renderer prior to Photon. Starting from Photon, WebKit 2 is now the default browser renderer on Linux. A new environment variable called GTK theme is now available on GTK versions greater than 3.14 to override the system theme, or if you want to use a dark variant. An example is given here. There are other general improvements such as improved high DPI support. So several improvements and bug fixes have been made regarding the high DPI support in both Windows and Linux platforms. And the dark theme support has also been improved in Photon. So for all the dark theme users, I have added a slide with the dark theme improvements, which you can see in Photon. So there are a lot of improvements in the text color, Java syntax coloring, and in the text editors icons. So let me just show you Eclipse in the dark theme mode. You can see that the text colors have been improved, and you can also see that the icons for the text operations such as the block selection, word wrap, white space, they all have been slightly modified to look better in the dark theme. And also the outline view also looks better here now in the dark theme, and also we have the links in the hover also looking better. So over some general updates. So in Photon, we have dropped support for the Windows XP operating system. And we also dropped support for Zulrunner as a browser renderer. So SWT Mozilla style has been deprecated. So these are all the new features, which important features in Eclipse Photon, which I have covered in the session. But there are a lot of new other APIs which are available, which I have not covered in the session. So please visit this link, which is the Eclipse Photon new and noteworthy page, which lists all the APIs and all the features which are part of the Photon release. That's all I had for today's session. Thanks for attending the session, and please try out Eclipse Photon and all the new features and report any bugs which you come across. Thanks.
Thank you, Lakshmi, and thank you for such a wonderful demo and presentation. And as always, thank you to our community for tuning in. We have no questions at this time, but we will be monitoring our YouTube comment section, Twitter feed, and Meetup page. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to drop us a line and we'll send them over to Lakshmi to answer. So again, I'd like to say thank you to Lakshmi for the great presentation, and we will see you tomorrow. And we'll see you tomorrow for our next webinar, LSP and TextMate, powering a new era of Eclipse plugins. So have a great one, everyone.